This is episode 8, different types of nouns. In the last video, we looked at the semantic and morphological features and syntactic behaviour of a noun to help us identify them. We also pointed out that not all nouns have to carry all the features to be a noun, just some of them. Now we're going to take a closer look at nouns to get a better insight into why different nouns don't always meet the full noun criteria. So nouns can be divided into the following categories: proper noun and common noun, and countable nouns and non-countable nouns. Now these are sometimes referred to as count nouns and non-count nouns, and I'm probably going to use them interchangeably. We can actually summarise the different types of nouns and their general rules into a very clear table. So let's do that. We'll start with the word. There it is. And we ask ourselves the following questions. Question 1, can this word take an apostrophe S? Let's see. Computer equals a computer's hard drive. Yep, that works. Peter equals Peter's mother. Yes, computer and Peter can both take an apostrophe S. How about sometimes? Sometimeses? No. Passionate. Passionates? No. Some words just can't. Can I put another noun or noun phrase as a substitute for this word? My computer is broken. My bicycle is broken. Yes, that works. Peter is pretty old. My bicycle is pretty old. In both these circumstances, another noun fits. I sometimes go shopping. I bicycle go shopping. She is very passionate. She is very bicycle. In these instances, they don't work so much. So if the answer is yes, yes, it can take an apostrophe S, or yes, it can take a substitute noun, then it's a noun. So we'll do a big tick here. And if it can't, then it's not a noun. Okay? So once we've established it's a noun, we can then divide it into our next category, and these are the proper noun or the common noun. Now, many of you may remember what a proper noun is from school. A proper noun is the name of someone or something or some place, any name really. Melbourne, Yarra River, Monash University, Donald Bradman, Christmas, or even Vegemite are all proper nouns. And you can certainly hear my Australian heritage in all those words as well. Now, proper nouns are always spelt with a capital letter. Common nouns, unlike proper nouns, can be preceded by the determiner a. So for example, a Monash University is not okay, but a university is. And therefore we need to ask ourselves, can the word be preceded by a? If yes, well then it's a common noun, and if not, then it's a proper noun. So we'll put a big tick here for yes, it can be preceded by a, or no, it can't be preceded by a. Now, common nouns can be further divided into count and non-count nouns. Native speakers are probably less familiar with this terminology, but true to their name, a countable noun is a noun that you can count, whereas a non-countable noun is one that you can't. So we check the common nouns by, well, counting them. And by doing this, see whether the word takes a plural. So for example, there are 3 bicycles. That works. I feel to serenity or sincerity. That doesn't. So bicycle is a countable noun, while serenity or sincerity are non-countable nouns. So let's write that down. Does it take a plural? Now I'll just add question marks to all those questions, because that's what they are. So look, we can just stop the video there. By all means, go ahead. because there you have the basic definition of the different types of nouns and how they work, and it all fits beautifully into a clear table. So beautiful. Let's stop it there. It's great. However, being the creative and ever-changing world that is language, these clear definitions can sometimes be a little confusing. So let's look at confusion number one. Confusion number one, to capital or not to capital. So, for example, Monash University is a proper noun, whereas university is not. So Monash University is spelt with a capital, but university without the name in front is a common noun, so it's spelt with a little letter at the beginning. Now, many people confuse this when talking about professions, such as writing that someone is a doctor and using a capital D, even when it's not part of the doctor's name. So Dr. Granger has a capital on both the D and the G in Dr. Granger, whereas he is a doctor takes no capital at all. Similarly, writing that you have a bachelor degree takes a small d and a small D, B and D, bachelor degree. Whereas if you say I have a Bachelor of Science, well then we have a capital B on bachelor and a capital S on science. Now a lot of people will say I have a bachelor degree with a capital B on bachelor. And this is found throughout lots of writing and all that kind of stuff. So it's often very confusing about when to put a capital down and when not to put a capital down. Now there is an exception to this, is with nationalities. So whether it's used as a noun like Japan or an adjective, Japanese, a country will always carry a capital. So in Japanese food, Japanese is capital and food is small. And this becomes difficult with directions, because directions are sometimes a place, as in I live out in the West, so, or he comes from the West, probably more common, the West. Whereas when we're using it as a direction, so the place is just west of the border. In those situations, we use west as a small w. So it can be tricky to know what to do in different situations. Now, Vegemite, in Australia at least, is also an interesting conversation. Now, this is true alongside words like Band-Aid, which is a brand word for a sticky plaster, Hoover, more so in England, for a vacuum cleaner, and even Internet, because Vegemite is a brand name that has become so integrated into Australian culture and consequently into our lexicon that we no longer identify it as a brand name, but instead use it more like the common word jam. Consequently, when we write Vegemite, we don't always give it a capital V. And so at what point does a proper noun become a common noun? When did it become okay for internet to be spelt with a small I? I remember the change, actually. I remember being confused about it for a while, and then all of a sudden it was okay to be a small I. It happened very quickly, I think. But it's hard to say exactly what the rule is. It's something that we will investigate down the track when we start looking at language change. So that's confusion number one, to capital or not to capital. Sometimes it seems straightforward, but other times not so much. Let's do this to number two. What's confusion number two? To plural or not to plural. So look, we're already familiar with the difference between countable and non-countable nouns because I talked about that not long ago. So for example, lightning is a non-countable noun because we can't say one lightning, two lightning. Flash, on the other hand, is a countable noun, so we can say two flashes of lightning. But there are some words that can be both a countable and non-countable noun, such as cheese or bread. Let's put So this has not always been the case. Today, instead of saying types of bread when referring to wheat versus rye versus gluten-free bread, we will often say different breads. Or we can refer to brie and cheddar and goat's cheese and parmesan and Edam as different cheeses, and not only different varieties of cheese. You see what I mean? Now, prescriptivists would ascertain that the distinction of countable and non-countable nouns could be found in the determiner or adjective that precedes the nouns. So, for example, we use less, much, and a little bit before non-count nouns. So, less, much, and a little bit. And we use fewer, many, and a few before count nouns. So using this rule, we have less meat and fewer vegetables. Comments such as, I have less vegetables than you, wouldn't be conceived of in the world of the proper English. However, sentences like, there are less people here than I thought, or I've got less things to do than you, are not uncommon. So this interchangeable exchange further muddies the distinction between count and non-count nouns. And for further ambiguity, it's easy to add s even onto a proper noun. In the table, we showed that countable nouns and non-countable nouns are a subdivision of common nouns. But I should also point out that in our continued creative language use, we often give proper nouns common noun traits. So you might hear an art critic claim that two young up-and-coming artists are the Picassos of their generation. So in this exclamation, they're giving Picasso a plural and making it countable. Well, that doesn't fit into the table at all. But that's kind of also what makes English language so exciting. Anyway, hopefully, despite the ambiguities, you can identify the different types of nouns and see why not all nouns carry all the noun features. Next time, we're going to look at noun phrases and what they are. So until then, thanks for watching The Language Code.